The Veluxi had been calling for help for 30 days. Elder Calith stood near the large window of their last space station. He looked down at his home planet, Valara Prime. Fire burned across the land. The purple forests that had grown for thousands of years were now gone. The beautiful crystal cities that his people had built over many generations were broken and destroyed. He watched as another Dominion warship flew over the surface. It dropped bombs on a small village near the eastern mountains. The explosion lit up the night side of the planet. Calith closed his eyes. That village had been home to 10,000 of his people. Just this morning, now they were gone. His daughter Sarah stood beside him. She was young, only 12 cycles old. The soft blue glow that usually covered her skin had become very dim. All Veluxi glowed with natural light, especially the young ones, but fear and hunger had taken that light from Sareth. She pressed herself against her father, trying to feel safe. "Father," she said in a small voice, "why does no one come to help us?" Calith put his arm around her. He did not know what to say. They had sent messages to every species they knew. They had begged for help. They had offered everything they had. But no one answered. The Rathani had the largest fleet in the galaxy. They could stop the Dominion easily. But they sent no reply to the Veluxi messages. Not even one word. The Mortith had been friends with the Veluxi for hundreds of years. They had traded knowledge and art. They had celebrated festivals together. But when the Veluxi asked for help, the Mortith sent only a short message. They said they were sorry, but helping would cause too many problems for them. The collective was the oldest civilization in this part of space. They had existed for millions of years. Surely they would help. But the collective sent a cold message that made Calith's blood feel like ice. "The strong eat the weak," the message said. "This is how nature works. This is how it has always been. This is how it will always be." Calith had read that message 5 times. Each time, he felt more pain in his heart. The galaxy had looked at his dying people and decided they were not worth saving. The Dominion had come 6 days ago. They were a powerful empire that took whatever they wanted. Valara Prime had rare minerals deep in its ground. These minerals were very valuable. The Dominion wanted them. They did not ask nicely. They told the Veluxi to leave their planet forever. They gave them 3 days to go. But the Veluxi had lived on Valara Prime for over 1,000,000 years. Their ancestors were buried in the soil. Their history was written in the stones of their cities. Their songs were about the purple forests and the crystal mountains. They could not leave. This was their home. So they said no. The Dominion did not argue. They did not negotiate. They simply began killing. Their ships were fast and deadly. Their weapons could destroy entire cities in seconds. The Veluxi had no army. They had never needed one. They were a peaceful people who spent their time studying, making art, and creating music. They had believed that the galaxy would protect those who did no harm. They had been wrong. In just 6 days, the Dominion had killed almost 9 billion Veluxi. Only 2 million remained, hiding in underground shelters or crowded onto the few space stations in orbit. Communications Officer Thrall walked quickly toward Calith. She was shaking. Her 4 arms were wrapped around herself, like she was trying to hold herself together. "Elder," she said, "we have found another ship coming into our system." Calith felt his 2 hearts sink. Another Dominion ship. They were coming to finish the job. Soon there would be no Veluxi left at all. "Wait," Thrall said. Her large eyes grew even larger. "This ship is not from the Dominion. The signal is different. I have never seen anything like it. Who are they?" Calith asked. "I do not know. They are not in our records. They are sending a message on all channels. Play it." Thrall touched the controls. A voice filled the room. It spoke in a language that the translation system quickly converted to Veluxi words. The voice was calm but firm. "This is the Earth vessel Steadfast. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. Please tell us your situation. Calith stared at Thrall. Earth? I have never heard of them. Neither have I, Elder. They are not in any of our databases. They seem to be a new species. Very new. A new species. Young ones who did not understand how the galaxy worked. They did not know that the strong ignored the weak. They did not know that no one helped anyone unless they could gain something from it. They had heard a cry for help and actually came. Calith felt a tiny spark of hope, but also fear. These Earth people had no idea what they were walking into. Send them a warning, Calith said quickly. Tell them to leave now. The Dominion will destroy them if they stay. Before Thrall could send the message, the voice from the Earth ship spoke again. We can see the Dominion fleet. We can see what they are doing to your planet. We know the danger. We are not leaving. Tell us where your survivors are. We are coming to get them. Calith could not believe what he was hearing. This small ship from an unknown world was looking at a Dominion war fleet and refusing to run away. They had to be either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. Elder, Thrall said softly, what do we do? Calith looked at his daughter. Sareth was staring at the communication screen with something in her eyes that he had not seen for days. It was hope. Small and fragile, but real. Maybe these humans were foolish. Maybe they would die here with the Veluxi. But they had come. When no one else in the entire galaxy would answer, this one small ship had flown into hell to help strangers. Tell them everything, Calith said. Tell them where our people are hiding. Tell them about the Dominion ships and their weapons. And tell them. He paused, his voice breaking. Tell them thank you. Tell them that the Veluxi will never forget that the humans came. On the little Earth ship called Steadfast, Commander Lucy Grant read the information coming through on her screen. 2 million survivors from a population of 9 billion. Women, children, elderly. Hiding in caves and shelters while death reigned from above. She had joined Earthfleet to help people. She had trained for rescue missions and disaster relief. But she had never faced anything like this. Commander, said her pilot, Amy Lynn, the Dominion flagship is changing course. They have seen us. Lucy looked at her crew. 52 people who had volunteered for humanitarian missions. They were doctors, engineers, and rescue workers. They were not soldiers. Their ship had light weapons meant only for defense. Against the Dominion fleet, they had no chance. But Lucy thought about the children hiding on the planet below. She thought about the Veluxi, who had called for help for 30 days while the galaxy ignored them. She thought about what kind of species humanity wanted to be. Hold position, she said. We are not running. Danny Ortega, her communications officer, turned to look at her. Commander, what is the plan? Lucy took a deep breath. We are going to save as many of them as we can. And we are going to show the galaxy what humans do when innocent people are dying. The Dominion flagship sent a message. The alien commander appeared on their screen. He had gray skin and cold eyes. He looked at the small Earth ship like it was an insect. Unknown vessel, he said in a bored voice. You are interfering with Dominion operations. Leave now or you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour. Lucy stood up straight. She made sure her voice was steady. This is Commander Lucy Grant of Earth. We are responding to a distress call. We will not leave until we have evacuated every survivor who wants to leave. That is our answer. The Dominion commander looked confused for a moment. Then he laughed. You are one small ship against our entire fleet. Your species must be very young. You do not understand how the galaxy works. Maybe not, Lucy said. But we understand how we work. And we do not leave people to die just because helping them is hard. She ended the transmission. The bridge was silent. Everyone was looking at her. Well, Amy said finally, I guess we are doing this. Lucy nodded. Yes, we are. She opened a channel to the whole ship. All hands, this is the commander. We have 1 hour before the Dominion attacks. In that time, we are going to save as many lives as possible. Prepare for evacuation operations. Load the shuttles. Get the medical bay ready. Today, we show the galaxy what humans are made of. The crew of the Steadfast moved into action. They were scared. They knew they might die. But they also knew that somewhere below, millions of innocent beings were waiting for someone to help them. And the humans had come. Commander Lucy Grant had seen terrible things in her life. She had worked rescue missions during the Great Floods that hit the coast of Asia in 2089. She had pulled survivors from the broken domes on Mars when they collapsed. She had held the hands of dying people and promised them that help was coming. But she had never seen anything like what the Dominion was doing to Valara Prime. The images on her screen showed cities that had been melted into flat glass, mass graves so large they could be seen from space, camps full of refugees being bombed while they tried to run, children with no parents wandering through burning forests. Lucy felt sick. She felt angry. And she felt more sure than ever that she had made the right choice to stay. "Commander," said Lieutenant Danny Ortega from his station, "I have finished counting the Dominion ships. There are 47 warships in the system, plus the flagship. 48 ships against one." Lucy almost laughed at how impossible it was. But she did not laugh. Instead, she started to plan. "How many shuttles do we have?" she asked. 8 shuttles, Commander. Each one can carry about 50 people. That is 400 per trip. How long to fly down, load up, and fly back? Amy Lynn, the pilot, did quick math in her head. About 40 minutes per trip if we push the engines hard. Then we have time for 1 trip before that hour is up. 1 trip to show the Dominion we are serious. Lucy turned to the screen showing the Veluxy survivors. "Contact Elder Kelleth. Ask him where the most vulnerable survivors are located. We start with the children and the wounded." The message came back quickly. There was an underground shelter in the northern region that held over 3,000 Veluxy. Most of them were children from a school that had escaped the first attacks. The shelter was running out of air and food. They had maybe 2 days left. "That is our first target," Lucy said. "All shuttles launch in 10 minutes. Dr. Kevin Shaw, the head of the medical team, appeared on the internal communication screen. He was already wearing his medical suit, ready to go down to the surface. "Commander, I want to lead the ground team myself. Kevin, you are the best doctor we have. If something happens to you down there, if something happens to me down there, at least I will have died doing something that matters." Kevin's eyes were hard and determined. "I did not become a doctor to hide in space while children die. I am going." Lucy nodded slowly. She understood. "Be careful. I will bring them home, Commander. All of them." The shuttles launched 10 minutes later. 8 small vessels flying toward a planet of fire and death. The Dominion ships watched but did not attack. Perhaps they were curious. Perhaps they found it amusing. 1 hour, they had said. The humans still had time. Lieutenant Maria Santos was on the first shuttle to land. She had grown up in a small town in New Mexico and had joined Earthfleet because she wanted to see the stars. Now she was stepping onto an alien world for the first time, and all around her was destruction. The air smelled like smoke and something else. Something sweet and terrible. She knew that smell. It was the smell of death. "Move fast," she told her team. "Stay together. Watch for Dominion patrols." They ran through the ruined landscape toward the underground shelter. The entrance was hidden behind a collapsed building. Maria had to crawl through a small gap in the rubble to reach it. Inside, she found them. 3,000 Veluxy, packed into a space meant for maybe 500. They were thin and weak. Many were wounded. Almost all of them were children, their natural glow so dim it was barely visible. When they saw Maria and her team, the children started crying. Not from fear, but from relief. One small Veluxy girl walked up to Maria and touched her hand. "You are the humans?" the girl asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Yes," Maria said, kneeling down to look at her. "We are here to take you somewhere safe." Everyone said no one would come. Everyone said we would die here. Maria felt tears building in her eyes. She blinked them away. There would be time for crying later. Right now, she had work to do. "Well, everyone was wrong," she said firmly. "Humans came, and we are not leaving without you." The evacuation was hard and slow. Many of the children were too weak to walk. The human team carried them, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. The wounded had to be moved carefully on stretchers made from emergency blankets. Dr. Kevin Shaw worked without stopping. He gave medicine to those who needed it. He cleaned wounds and wrapped bandages. He spoke softly to frightened children, even though they did not share a language, because a gentle voice is understood in any tongue. When the shuttles were full, they flew back to the Steadfast. Then they turned around and went back for more. The hour was almost gone when the last shuttle lifted off from the surface. They had saved all 3,000 from the shelter, but there were still millions more waiting. "Commander," Danny said as the shuttles returned, "the Dominion flagship is moving. They are coming toward us." Lucy watched the large warship approach on her screen. It was 5 times the size of the Steadfast, covered in weapons that could tear her ship apart in seconds. "Open a channel," she said. The Dominion commander appeared again. He was not bored anymore. He looked annoyed. "Your hour is up, Commander. You have had your fun. Now leave or die." "We have over 3,000 Veluxy survivors on board," Lucy replied. "We need time to take them somewhere safe. Give us safe passage, and we will go. The Veluxy are ours to do with as we please. You will return them to the planet." "No." The commander's gray face twisted with anger. "No? You dare to tell the Dominion no?" "I just did." Lucy kept her voice calm, even though her heart was racing. "These people came to us for help. We will not hand them over to be killed. That is not what humans do. What humans do is irrelevant. In a few moments, your ship will be scattered across space, and your precious survivors will die with you. Maybe, but we will have died protecting innocent people. Can your soldiers say the same?" The Dominion commander stared at her for a long moment. Something flickered in his cold eyes. Confusion, perhaps. He had never met a species like this before. Empires conquered. Civilizations protected their own interests. No one sacrificed themselves for strangers. "You are insane," he said finally. "We are human," Lucy replied. "Sometimes that looks the same." She cut the transmission. "Commander," Sam Peters, her first officer, said quietly, "we cannot survive an attack from that flagship." "I know. So what do we do?" Lucy looked at her crew. 52 people who had trusted her with their lives. 52 people who had not hesitated when she asked them to fly into danger for strangers. "We do what humans have always done," she said. "We survive until help arrives." "Help from where?" "We are the only Earth ship in this sector. Then we call for more. Danny, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them everything. Include the video footage of what the Dominion has done here. Broadcast it on every open channel you can find. Commander, even at top speed, ships from Earth are weeks away." "I know. Send it anyway. Let the whole galaxy hear. Let them see what is happening here. Let them know that humans stood up when everyone else looked away." Danny nodded and began typing. The message went out into space, traveling at the speed of light toward distant stars. It would take time to reach Earth. It would take even longer for help to come. But Lucy had learned something during her years of rescue work. Sometimes, when you cannot win a fight, you just have to survive long enough for the situation to change. You hold on. You refuse to give up. And sometimes, miracles happen. "Amy," she said to her pilot, "how good are you at dodging?" Amy grinned despite her fear. "Pretty good, Commander." "Good, because we are about to find out exactly how good." The Dominion flagship opened fire. The first shot flew past the Steadfast, missing by only a few meters. Amy had already started moving, throwing the ship into a sharp turn that made everyone grab onto something for balance. "Here we go," Amy muttered. "Everybody hold on tight." The small humanitarian ship danced through space, dodging and weaving as the massive warship tried to destroy it. They could not fight back. They could only run and hide and survive. Below them, on Valara Prime, millions of Veluxi watched the sky. They saw the tiny Earthship trying to escape the Dominion hunters. They saw it refuse to run away from the system. Even as it dodged fire, it stayed close to the planet. Elder Caliph watched from the orbital station. He did not understand these humans. They should be gone by now. They should have taken their 3,000 survivors and fled to safety. Instead, they were risking everything to stay near Valara Prime. Why? He whispered. Why do they not save themselves? His daughter Sarah stood beside him, watching the same battle. Maybe, she said slowly, they do not want to save just themselves. Maybe they want to save everyone. Caliph looked at his daughter. In her eyes, he saw something that had been missing for days. A spark of light. A tiny flame of hope that refused to die. The humans had lit that flame, and as long as they kept fighting, that flame would keep burning. For 3 days, the Steadfast refused to die. Amy Lynn flew like she had never flown before. She used every trick she knew and invented new ones. She flew so close to the planet that the ship burned through the upper atmosphere. She hid behind the moon, using its mass to block the Dominion sensors. She made sharp turns that pushed the engines beyond their limits. The ship took damage. One engine was failing. 3 decks had holes in them where weapons had hit. The life support system was struggling to keep everyone breathing, but they were still alive, and they were still saving people. Every time, Amy created a gap in the Dominion pursuit. The shuttles flew down to the planet's surface. Every time, they came back with more survivors. The ship was designed to carry 200 people comfortably. Now it held nearly 8,000. Veluxi survivors filled every space. They slept in the hallways, in the cargo bays, in the engineering sections. The human crew gave up their own beds and slept in shifts wherever they could find room. Dr. Kevin Shaw had not slept at all. He moved through the crowded ship, treating wounds, handing out medicine, and speaking softly to the traumatized survivors. His eyes were red and his hands were shaking from exhaustion, but he refused to stop. "Doctor, you need to rest," one of his nurses said. "There are still patients who need help. You will collapse if you do not sleep." Kevin looked at her with tired eyes. "Then I will collapse doing something useful. Wake me up if I fall." On the surface of Valara Prime, Lieutenant Maria Santos led the ground teams. She had lost count of how many trips she had made. Her uniform was covered in dirt and blood and ash. Her muscles screamed in pain every time she moved, but she kept moving. In the ruins of a city called Velith, she found a group of survivors hiding in the basement of what had once been a hospital. 47 Veluxi, most of them elderly patients who could not run when the bombs fell. The young doctors and nurses had stayed with them, refusing to leave their patients behind. "We thought everyone had forgotten us," the oldest nurse said. Her name was Tillith, and she had worked at this hospital for 60 years. "We did not forget," Maria said. "We did not even know you existed until a few days ago. But as soon as we found out, we came." "Why?" Tillith asked. Why do you risk so much for people you never met? Maria helped an elderly Veluxy onto a stretcher. She thought about the question. It was a simple question, but the answer was complicated. Because we are human, she said finally. And this is what humans do. She found Sareth during her 7th trip to the surface. The young Veluxy was alone in the ruins of a library. The building had collapsed around her, but one small room remained standing. Inside, Sareth had been hiding for 2 days, surrounded by the bodies of her teachers. When Maria crawled through the rubble and found her, Sareth did not run or cry. She just stared with empty eyes. "Hey there," Maria said softly. She sat down on the dusty floor, making herself small and quiet. "My name is Maria. I am from Earth. I am here to help you." Sareth did not respond. "I know you are scared. I know terrible things have happened. But you do not have to stay here. I can take you somewhere safe." "Safe?" Sareth's voice was barely a whisper. "There is no safe. Everyone dies. Everyone leaves." Maria felt her heart break. This child had watched her world die. She had seen everyone she loved get killed or abandon her. Why would she trust a stranger? "You are right," Maria said. "Lots of people left. Lots of people said no when your people asked for help. That was wrong. They should have come." Sareth's eyes flickered with something. "Anger, maybe. Or pain. But we came," Maria continued. "We are here now. And I promise you, I will not leave you. I will not give up on you. Even if you do not believe me right now, I will keep trying until you do." For a long moment, Sareth was silent. Then, slowly, she reached out her small hand. Maria took it gently. "What is your name?" Maria asked. "Sareth." "That is a beautiful name. Are you ready to go, Sareth?" The young Veluxy nodded. Maria picked her up carefully and carried her through the ruins toward the waiting shuttle. Back on the Steadfast. The situation was getting worse. "Commander," Sam reported, "the Dominion is changing their attack pattern. They are not just trying to destroy us anymore. They are also targeting the refugee camps on the surface." Lucy felt ice run through her veins. "They are going to start killing survivors directly." "Yes, they have figured out that we care more about the Veluxy than about ourselves. They are using that against us." It was a cold, cruel strategy. And it might work. How long until they start bombing the camps? "Minutes, Commander." "They are already moving into position." Lucy made a decision. It might be the last decision she ever made, but it felt right. "Position our ship between the Dominion fleet and the planet." Sam stared at her. "Commander, that will put us directly in their line of fire. They will tear us apart." "Maybe, but they will have to go through us to reach those camps. Every second we delay them is another second for people to reach cover." "Lucy." Sam's voice was shaking. "We will die." "Yes, probably." Lucy looked at her friend, her first officer, the man who had served beside her for 7 years. "But those are children down there, Sam. Thousands of children who have done nothing wrong. If we can save even a few more of them, then our deaths will mean something." Sam was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "For what it is worth," he said, "it has been an honor serving with you." The honor was mine. Lucy turned to face the view screen. "All hands, this is the commander. We are moving to intercept the Dominion fleet. Our goal is to protect the refugee camps on the surface for as long as possible. I know I'm asking a lot. I know many of us will not survive. But if you believe that some things are worth dying for, then this is one of those times." Gran out. The Steadfast moved forward. The little humanitarian ship, battered and damaged, placed itself between the hunters and their prey. The Dominion flagship began to fire. The first volley hit the shields and shook the entire ship. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. "Shields at 60%, Sam reported. Hold position. Another volley. The ship shuddered violently. Somewhere in the back, something exploded. Shields at 30%. Hull breaches on decks 4 and 5. Hold position. Lucy gripped her command chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. This was it. This was how it ended. At least she would die standing between evil and innocence. Then the view screen flickered. At first, Lucy thought it was damage to the sensors. But then she realized what she was seeing. New ships. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them. They were dropping out of faster than light. Travel all around the steadfast Earth. Ships. This is Admiral Diane Crawford of United Earth Navy. The Admiral's voice came through strong and clear. We received your message, Steadfast. All ships, this is a humanitarian protection mission. All Dominion vessels will leave this system immediately or be treated as enemy combatants. The bridge of the Steadfast erupted in cheers. Lucy felt tears running down her face, but she did not bother to wipe them away. Help had come. The transmission continued, and now Lucy could hear the anger in the Admiral's voice. Real, righteous human anger. We have seen what you did here, Dominion. We have broadcast your crimes to every corner of the galaxy. The other species may have ignored the Veluxy. The other civilizations may have looked away. But humans do not look away. We are here. And we are not leaving. The Dominion fleet stopped firing. For a long moment, nothing happened. The two fleets faced each other in the darkness of space. Then, slowly, the Dominion ships began to turn. One by one, they moved away from Velara Prime. The flagship was the last to go. Before it jumped to faster than light, the Dominion commander sent one final message. This is not over, humans. You have made an enemy today. Admiral Crawford's response was immediate. We have made a lot of enemies over the years. You are not special. The Dominion fleet disappeared. On the Steadfast, the crew stood in shocked silence. They had been seconds from death. Now they were alive. The Veluxy survivors in the hallways were crying and hugging each other. The human crew was crying to Lucy opened a channel to the Admiral's ship. Admiral Crawford, this is Commander Grant. Thank you. I thought we were finished. You held on long enough for us to get here, Commander. Your message reached Earth in record time. The whole planet saw what you were doing. Every ship that could fly came as fast as they could. The Admiral's voice softened. You made us proud to be human, Lucy. You showed the galaxy who we really are. Lucy looked at her damaged ship, her exhausted crew, the thousands of survivors they had rescued. 3 days of running, fighting, and refusing to give up. We just did what was right, she said. That is exactly the point, the Admiral replied. Now get some rest, Commander. You have earned it. We will take it from here. Down on the surface of Velara Prime, the bombing had stopped. For the first time in 6 days, the sky was quiet. The survivors crawled out of their shelters and looked up at the stars. Among the burning ruins and the ash of their world, they saw hundreds of Earthships moving into protective positions around their planet, and they knew, finally, that they were not alone anymore. 12 cycles had passed since the humans came. Sarah stood on the steps of the rebuilt Velara Prime Academy of Arts, looking out at the crowd gathered before her. Thousands of Veluxy, their skin glowing bright with joy and hope. And scattered among them, like stars in a living sky, were humans. She was no longer the frightened child Maria Santos had found hiding in the ruins of a library. She was 24 cycles old now, a young woman by Veluxy standards. Her glow had returned, stronger than ever. Her voice was clear and confident. Today, she would give the speech to open the new academy. It was the largest building on Velara Prime, bigger even than the ancient Hall of Elders that had been destroyed in the war. Its crystal towers reached toward the sky, catching the light of the twin suns and scattering it into rainbows. The building had been designed by Veluxy architects and built with human help. Inside, the library held not just recovered Veluxy texts, but also the complete works of human literature, translated into the Veluxy language. A gift from Earth, given freely. Sarah saw Maria Santos in the crowd. Her human friend had returned every year since the rescue. She had watched Sarah grow up. She had been there for birthdays and graduations and moments of joy and sadness. She had become family. Maria smiled and gave Sarah a small wave. Sarah smiled back, feeling the love flowing between them across the crowded space. She took a deep breath and began to speak. Before the humans came, we believed we understood the universe. We thought we knew its rules. The strong take from the weak. Survival demands that we ignore the suffering of others. Compassion is a luxury that only the powerful can afford, and they never afford it. Then one small ship appeared in our skies. One ship, crewed by people who had never met us. People who owed us nothing. People who had everything to lose and nothing to gain. And they stood between us and death. Not because they had to, because they chose to. They did not know if they would survive. Many of them almost died. Their ship was damaged. Their bodies were exhausted. They had every reason to run away and save themselves. But they stayed. They stayed because they believed that no one should face the darkness alone. They stayed because they believed that helping strangers is not foolish but noble. They stayed because, to them, our lives mattered as much as their own. Sareth paused, looking out at the mixed crowd of Veluxy and humans. The humans have a concept they call paying it forward. It means that when someone helps you, you repay that kindness not to them, but to someone else. You create a chain of kindness that goes on forever. One act of compassion leads to another, then another, spreading outward like ripples on water. Today, the Veluxy make a promise. We will pay it forward. When we hear a cry for help from the darkness, we will answer. When we see the weak being crushed by the strong, we will stand between them. When the galaxy tells us that this is impossible, this is foolish, this is a waste of our resources, we will remember what the humans taught us. No one should face the darkness alone. And sometimes, all it takes to change everything is one small ship, one stubborn crew, and the simple decision to care. The crowd erupted in applause. Veluxy and humans cheered together. Skin glowed bright. Tears flowed freely. Sareth looked up at the sky, toward the stars where her people had once believed no help would ever come. She was wrong then. They all were done in the orbital station above Velara Prime. Admiral Lucy Grant watched the ceremony on a view screen. She was older now, her hair showing streaks of gray. Beside her stood Elder Kelleth, slower and more bent with age, but still alive. Still watching, still hoping. You changed us, Kelleth said softly. You changed everything. Lucy shook her head. We just showed up. You did the hard part. You survived. You rebuilt. You chose to keep hoping when hope seemed foolish, because you gave us the chance to hope. Kelleth turned to look at her. Do you know what the other species in the galaxy say about humanity now? I have heard some things. They say you are unpredictable, that you do not follow the rules of power and self-interest that everyone else follows. They say you are confusing and strange and impossible to understand. Lucy smiled. That sounds about right. They also say you are dangerous, not because of your weapons or your ships, but because you make other species question their own choices. You make them wonder if maybe they could be better too. Is that a bad thing? Kelleth considered the question. For some, yes. For the Dominion and others like them, your example is threatening. It shows that their way is not the only way. And for the rest? For the rest, you are something new. Something that gives hope. The Mordith are sending aid ships to other struggling worlds now. The Rithani are debating whether to create a humanitarian force. Even some Dominion citizens are questioning their leaders. Lucy felt warmth spread through her chest. It was not what she had expected when she had ordered the Steadfast to hold position all those years ago. She had just been trying to save as many lives as possible before she died. But somehow, that simple act had grown into something much bigger. "We just wanted to help," she said. "And in helping, you changed the galaxy." Caleth placed his hand over his heart. "That is the power of compassion, Commander. It grows. It spreads. It touches lives you never even knew existed." Below them, on the planet they had helped save, the celebration continued. Children ran through the streets of newly rebuilt cities. Music played in the crystal halls. For the first time in over a decade, the Veluxi were truly happy and scattered across the galaxy. Other species were watching. In the great communications hub at the heart of the new academy, a message played on repeat. It was broadcast to every corner of known space. It said, "If you are lost in the darkness, if you cry out and no one answers, if you have given up hope that help will come, know this. Earth is listening. Humans will answer. You are not alone. We are coming. Hold on. We are coming." The message traveled at the speed of light, spreading outward into the endless night. And on 100 worlds, beings who had believed themselves forgotten heard it and felt something they had almost given up on. Hope. Maria Santos found Sareth after the ceremony. The young Veluxi threw herself into Maria's arms, hugging her tightly. "I did it," Sareth whispered. "I told them what you taught me." "You did more than that," Maria said, her voice thick with emotion. "You became who you were always meant to be. A leader, a healer, a light in the darkness. Because of you. Because you found me in those ruins and did not give up on me. Sareth, you would have found your way with or without me. The strength was always inside you." Sareth pulled back and looked at her human friend. "Maybe, but you helped me find it. That is what matters. That is what humans do. You help people find the best parts of themselves." Maria wiped tears from her eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I learned from the best." They walked together through the celebration, past happy families and laughing children and elderly. Veluxi, who had survived the darkest days and lived to see the light return. Above them, the stars shone bright. And somewhere out there, in the vast darkness between worlds, another distress signal was being sent. Another species was crying out for help. Another civilization was facing destruction and wondering if anyone cared. The first ship to respond was Veluxi. The second was human. Together, they flew toward the darkness, carrying the light of compassion with them, and the galaxy would never be the same. This is what humanity brought to the stars. Not just technology or weapons or power, but something far more valuable. The simple, stubborn belief that helping others matters, that no one should face the darkness alone, that even in a universe full of cruelty and indifference, there is always room for kindness. The humans came when no one else would, and they changed everything. The end. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy watched in confusion. Humanity did not act like any species they had ever known. Hospital ships arrived at Valara Prime, then colony vessels, then construction ships carrying building materials and equipment. Engineers from Earth worked day and night to create safe areas on the planet's surface. Doctors from a dozen human nations treated wounds they had never seen before, learning Veluxi medicine as they went. Human soldiers stood guard at refugee camps, but they did not act like soldiers usually did. They played with children. They helped elderly Veluxi walk to food stations. They learned Veluxi songs and tried to sing them badly, making the survivors laugh for the first time in weeks. The Rithani ambassador sent a formal message to Earth. The Rithani were the largest military power in the sector. They wanted to know what territory humanity expected in return for helping the Veluxi. The human response confused them completely. We do not want territory. We just want to help. The ambassador read the message 3 times. He called his advisors and asked them to explain it. No one could. It did not make sense. Every action had a price. Every kindness had a cost. That was how the galaxy worked. But humans seemed to play by different rules. The Mortith tried a different approach. They sent their best traders to negotiate exclusive economic deals with humanity. Surely this intervention was a long-term business strategy. Surely the humans wanted something. We are not really interested in trade negotiations right now, the human diplomat replied. We are busy making sure children have food and shelter. Maybe we can talk about this later? The Mortith traders did not know what to say. They went home empty-handed and confused. Elder Keleth watched all of this from the orbital station that had become the temporary government center for what remained of the Veluxi people. He had lived for 200 cycles. He had watched empires rise and fall. He understood, or thought he understood, how power worked in the galaxy. You gave something to get something. Strength was traded for strength. Resources for resources. Nothing was ever given freely. But the humans broke every rule he knew. He watched Commander Lucy Grant, now Admiral Grant after her promotion, kneeling in the mud of a refugee camp to help rebuild a family's home. She was one of the highest-ranking officers in the human fleet, but she worked with her own hands alongside the lowest workers. He watched Dr. Kevin Shaw, running on barely any sleep, teaching Veluxi doctors new medical techniques. The human doctor gave away knowledge that had taken his people centuries to develop. Asking nothing in return, he watched Lieutenant Maria Santos, who had pulled his daughter from the ruins, returning every single day to play with the traumatized children. She taught them human games and songs. She held them when they had nightmares. She treated them as if they were her own family. Keleth finally asked the question that had been burning in his mind. Commander Grant, he said one evening. They were standing on the observation deck, watching human and Veluxi ships moving together in the darkness. Why do you do this? Lucy thought about the question carefully before answering. Do you know much about Earth history? She asked. Some. Your databases have been shared with us. Then you know that humans almost destroyed themselves. Many times. We had terrible wars. We damaged our own planet so badly that millions of species died. We invented weapons that could end all life on our world. We came very close to finishing our own story before it really began. Keleth nodded. He had read about the human wars. They were violent and bloody beyond anything the Veluxi had experienced. What saved you? He asked. Each other. Lucy smiled sadly. Every time we were on the edge of destruction, there were people who refused to give up on humanity. People who believed we could be better. People who helped others even when it cost them everything. Even when everyone else said it was foolish. And those people made a difference? They made all the difference. We learned that survival is not just about being the strongest or the smartest. It is about connection, community, caring for each other. We learned that when you help someone, you are not just helping them. You are helping yourself. You are making the world better for everyone. Keleth was quiet for a long moment. The collective told us that the strong, consuming the weak is the natural order. He sighed. The collective is wrong. Lucy's voice was firm. Nature also created love, cooperation, sacrifice, parents who die to protect their children, animals who share food with their hungry friends. Those things are just as natural as competition. We choose which parts of nature we want to follow. And humanity chooses to try every day. We are not perfect. We fail a lot. We still have people who are selfish and cruel and violent. But we keep trying to be better. We keep choosing to help when we can. We keep believing that compassion matters. Caleth felt something warm spreading through his chest. It was a feeling he had almost forgotten. Hope. Commander Grant, he said slowly, the Veluxi have nothing to offer you. We are scholars and artists. We have no army, no weapons, no military strength. We cannot repay what you have done for us. We do not help people because of what they can give us. But surely you want something. Lucy turned to face him. Her eyes were warm and kind, filled with a light that reminded Caleth of the way his own people glowed. What I want, she said, is to hear your stories. Your music. Your art. I want to learn about your history and your culture. I want my children and grandchildren to grow up in a galaxy where the Veluxi still exist, still creating beauty, still adding their unique voice to the song of civilization. Caleth did not know how to respond. In all his years, no one had ever spoken to him this way. That is all you want? He finally asked. Stories and music? That is more valuable than any territory or trade deal. At least, that is what we believe. They stood in silence for a while, watching the stars. Finally, Caleth spoke again. I have studied your history since we first met. All your wars, your cruelty, your mistakes. By any logical measure, humanity should have destroyed itself long ago. Probably, Lucy agreed. But you did not. And now I understand why. Caleth placed his hand over his heart in the Veluxi gesture of deepest respect. For every moment of darkness in your history, there was someone who lit a flame. Someone who refused to accept despair. Someone who reached out to help a stranger. We call it the better angels of our nature, Lucy said. The part of us that chooses good even when evil would be easier. Your species is remarkable, Commander. Not because you are strong, though you are. Not because you are smart, though you are that too. You are remarkable because you care. Genuinely care about people you have never met, from species you never knew existed. Lucy smiled. We are just humans, Caleth. We are nothing special. No, Caleth said. You are exactly special enough. And that is the most remarkable thing of all. Across the sector, the ripples were spreading. The broadcasts from Valara Prime had gone everywhere. Billions of beings on hundreds of worlds had seen the footage. They had watched a small human ship stand alone against the Dominion. They had seen human volunteers pulling Veluxi children from burning buildings. They had heard survivors speak about the species that came when no one else would. And something was changing. On the Dominion homeworld, citizens began asking uncomfortable questions. If the humans could choose compassion over profit, why could they not? If one small ship could stand against a whole fleet, what did that say about the Dominion's supposed invincibility? The questions were whispered at first. Then they were spoken aloud. Then they were shouted in the streets. Small cracks appeared in the Dominion Empire. The cracks grew. The Rathani, watching the mood shift across the galaxy, quietly sent a message to Earth. Perhaps they had been too hasty in ignoring the Veluxi distress call. Perhaps there were opportunities for cooperation. The Mortis ambassador was recalled and replaced with one who had different instructions. Build a real relationship with humanity. Learn from them. Maybe their way of doing things was worth understanding. And across hundreds of worlds, countless beings looked at the example humanity had set and asked themselves a simple question. Could we do the same? Not everyone answered yes. Many species were too set in their ways, too committed to the old rules of power and self-interest. But some said yes. Some decided to be better. And slowly, very slowly, the galaxy began to change. It started with small things. A cargo ship stopping to help a stranded vessel instead of passing by. A wealthy world sending surplus food to a poor colony that was struggling. Scientists sharing discoveries freely instead of selling them to the highest bidder. Not every act of kindness was inspired by humanity, but many were. The humans had shown that it was possible to care about strangers. They had proven that compassion was not weakness, and once that was proven, others found the courage to try. On Valara Prime, the first new building was completed. It was a school, built with human materials and Veluxa design. The crystal walls caught the light and scattered it in rainbows. Inside, children sat in clean, safe classrooms for the first time since the invasion. Commander Grant came to the opening ceremony. She stood at the back of the crowd, not wanting to draw attention to herself. But the Veluxi children saw her. They ran to her and surrounded her, their skin glowing bright with joy. She knelt down and hugged as many of them as she could reach in.